Welcome to this explainer on the incredible, high-stakes science behind how your everyday pills are perfectly manufactured. You might just pop a pill without a second thought, but the process validation behind coated tablets is an absolute marvel of modern engineering and meticulous control.
Let's dive right in by looking at the sheer magnitude of the problem we're solving here. Safely and precisely mass-producing the exact same drug dose billions of times. Seriously, how do we guarantee every single coated tablet is perfectly identical? We aren't just talking about getting it right once. We've got to get it right every single time across massive batches, because human lives literally depend on it.
Today, we're mapping out this exact engineering pipeline. We'll start with why the coated tablet is the most complex dosage form, move into Step 1, the perfect blend, then Step 2, wet granulation, and finally Steps 3 and 4, milling and drying. Starting off with Part 1, the most complex dosage form, and exactly why the coated tablet holds that title. The reason the coated tablet requires such complex multi-step process validation becomes pretty obvious when you look at the sheer number of moving parts. Think of this like high-stakes baking. Just look at these variables. You have to balance physical properties, like the particle size of the drug substance and the bulk density of the drug and excipients, with strict machinery limits like mixer speeds, powder loads, and spray rates. Managing all of these variables in perfect harmony is what makes process validation absolutely crucial. Moving on to Part 2. Step 1, the perfect blend. This is where we start the formulation. So, we're at the very beginning of the pipeline. At this stage, the raw drug and excipient powders need some incredibly intense mixing. This initial blending of the active drug and the base excipients demands absolute precision in both mixing speed and mixing time. It essentially lays down the core foundation for everything that follows. But here's the catch. More mixing isn't always better. If we knead this dough too long, the ingredients actually start separating again. It's a process called demixing or segregation. This leads to inaccurate drug uniformity, meaning a sample the weight of a single tablet might actually have the completely wrong dose. Imagine taking your medication and getting half the required dose just because the powder was spun in a blender for a few minutes too long. And it's not just the active drug we have to worry about. If the lubricant isn't perfectly uniform, it physically jams up the machinery, which effectively stops production dead in its tracks. Or, if the color isn't dispersed evenly, you get a visual defect called shading or molting, and the whole batch basically goes in the trash. To nail that perfect mix, we essentially have two routes: diffusion, using tumble blenders, or convection, using planetary, high-intensity, or fluid bed blenders. Pick the wrong one for your equipment load and bulk density, and you instantly destroy that perfect distribution we just worked so hard to create. It's a super delicate balance of matching the equipment's capacity to the exact physical properties of our materials.
All right, Part 3, Step 2, wet granulation, where we bind it all together.
Advancing down the line, we're now adding binders to our perfectly mixed dry powders. Now, these binders can be introduced either as a liquid granulating solution, or they can be added dry alongside the other excipients. Honestly, this step is a bit of a minefield. You can add dry binder to avoid guessing liquid concentrations, sure, but if you do use liquid binders with a high concentration, they might just completely clog your spray nozzles, and the absolute worst-case scenario? Adding just a drop too much solvent or binder. This creates an overwetting disaster that halts production entirely, leading to severely prolonged drying times that completely ruin the batch. To dodge that overwetting disaster, we have to find the absolute perfect granulation endpoint. And rather than just eyeing it and guessing when it's done, sophisticated equipment mathematically determines this exact point. We use tools like an ammeter or a wattmeter to measure the electrical current or power being used by the mixer. That power draw changes as the wet mass thickens, which cleanly transitions this step from guesswork to hard science, guaranteeing identical batches every single time.
Finally, Part 4, Steps 3 and 4, milling and drying. This is the final refinement.
This brings us to the crucial final sequence, navigating the tricky transition between wet milling, drying, and finally dry milling. First step is wet milling. This is delicate work intended to break up the lumps in our wet mass to enhance drying, all without overheating or staining the equipment. We have to carefully balance screen sizes, mill size, and feed rates here. Then, after the product is dry, we switch over to dry milling using impact or screen mills to reduce those particles down to their final size. Sitting right between those milling phases is, of course, the drying step.
Here, complex machinery like tray dryers, fluid beds, or microwaves are paired with highly specialized moisture analysis, stuff like near IR, loss on drying, or Carl Fisher testing. Why go to all this trouble? Because a single drop of excess moisture or a slight temperature drop ruins the entire lot. When it comes to drying, uniformity is absolutely essential.
In this very last step, dry milling, choosing a smaller screen size is going to yield a finer powder. Once that ultimate, optimal particle size distribution is achieved, this highly volatile, intricate formula is finally safe, stable, and completely ready for the tablet press to become a perfectly identical pill. So I'll leave you with this question. Next time you swallow a simple coated tablet, will you think about the high-stakes, microscopic engineering journey it survived to get to you? Hopefully, this explainer has given you a newfound appreciation for the hidden complexities sitting right inside your medicine cabinet. Every single step, from blending to milling to drying, is meticulously validated to ensure your safety and your health. Thanks for learning with me today.